welcome to yet another edition of Courtside with Callie Wheeler, presented by Walker Brothers Chevrolet, serving Northwest Pennsylvania for more than years. Coach, I'm sure when you got on the bus, a split would have been, not optimal, but you would have a split is better than 0-2. 2-0 would be obviously the goal, but Westchester is really good. A road win in this league, regardless crossover or not, you don't take for granted. Obviously we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the wins and the loss, but a split on the road, a road win cannot be taken lightly, and you got to be very pleased with the result.
Yeah, I think where I'm really excited is that we got Haley Sims back in the scoring column, and she looks comfortable. She's playing her game. 1-1 is great. I mean, Westchester, the second game, that's a tough prep, and we went through a little bit of adversity with bus driver incidents. So I thought we played well for 3/4 of that game, and then they separated. I mean, Leah Anderson is a phenomenal player, and she showed how good she is in this league.
Now, the compare and the contrast of the win and the loss, and there's a couple of things that immediately jump out, and both in the win and the loss, Sims, Haley, and Morgan both played really well. I thought that to this point in the season, I think we probably thought that they were going to be A and B in terms of your scores.
Yep.
I thought it was just nice to see them on back-to-back nights being A and B in terms of your scores.
Yeah, we actually saw them be consistent. The only thing that I would really like for them to grow from both of those games is their turnovers. When you play against a good team like Westchester, you got to take care of the ball. You got to get shots on the rim, especially for Haley, how well she was shooting the ball. I think she came out the second half and passed up on a couple opportunities, but had some big turnovers in the second half that, got them rolling in transition, and that's what really caused separation.
Yeah, you talk about that. That was the thing. And I watching it in real time, I thought that this was going to be the case. I guess I didn't realize as I compared the two box scores how glaring of a difference it was. You win the turnover margin 24-9 against Kutztown. That obviously is going to lead to a victory, right?
Absolutely.
You go to -10 against Westchester in the turnover margin. I mean, how many times in your career have you been -10 in the turnover margin and won a game? That's an unrealistic ask. And this is the dumbest, most simplistic question. Is it that simple for you guys? If you're +7 in the turnover, is that a win? Every time out is because that's really been the case this year, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've played against some really good teams, and I mean, Kutztown, their record doesn't really reflect how good they are defensively. And obviously turnovers is something that we're constantly talking about. And, we've had a lot of time to practice, and I've tried to really focus on that, try to put them in situations where, they have to slow down. When I went back and I clipped all of our turnovers, 95% of our turnovers are coming out of offense. So we aren't executing. It's not like we're turning it over when we execute offense. We're turning it over when we kind of break down and just play our own style of basketball. Well, we can't do that. And I hope that, this week and them learning and seeing that they grow from that.
The other thing that I thought that was really good, and I don't mean settling. I just think your DNA this year is different versus years gone by. I don't think it was coincidence in the Kutztown win. You made more free throws than 3-pointers attempted, and then obviously in the loss, you're 16 of 25 from the free throw line and 7 of 27 from the free throw line. That's not your team this year.
No.
And I thought it was plain as day. And I do think that sometimes it is settling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just think we're taking quick threes in early offense. And I think that shot is there, especially how Westchester was guarding. They were really protecting the paint. Anytime Haley or Morgan, attacked a gap, that gap closed quickly. So that first pass out, we were settling for a shot, but I thought that shot was going to be there, whether there was 25 seconds on the clock or 5 seconds. Yeah. And when we missed, when I went back and watched, a lot of their points in transition were because of bad 3-point misses. Long rebounds, result
the
into
long run-outs,
easy offense.
It's
absolutely.
The outlet pass in the transition.
Absolutely.
Now that you've had a chance to really break it down, because this to me is a staggering difference in terms of the free throws attempted in the two games. Was it Kutztown? Was it Westchester? Was it you? Was it a combination of the two?
I think the two defended us differently. I think that Morgan did a really good job in the Kutztown game in attacking gaps and being able to get into the lane. Well, obviously, Westchester game plan for us after watching that game, because anytime she went into the lane, there were 2-3 defenders with at least 1 foot in the lane. And, I mean, she's a good enough slasher. She was getting there. She just wasn't finishing, and we weren't getting the same whistle we got at Kutztown. So her and Haley should have been kicking out, kind of forcing closeouts and attacking multiple closeouts. I think that's where we really need to grow. Is we're good at attacking that first closeout, but we need to have multiple closeouts in order for the defense to break down.
The other thing that I thought that was a little bit bizarre, and obviously, the stats are the stats, and they don't necessarily carry over, but we talked about the turnovers. Now, are you turning the ball over in an attempt to get an assist, or is it a ball-dominant, sticky situation? Because sometimes I feel, you mentioned the breakdown, and it gets, I don't want to say it gets lazy, but it gets kind of easy to guard. We talked about, preventing turnovers. Is it more sharing of the basketball? Are you an extra pass away in some instances? Because you mentioned, you said it just dies. It dies, and then the train goes off the tracks, and very rarely is it positive from that point forward.
Right, absolutely. And I think it's a collection. So what I see is it's not when we're running offense. It's more in transition, a lot of post-entry. One thing that I see us doing is not completing that post-entry pass. And then one thing that I've seen is our drivers are over-penetrating. So they're able to get in there, but they're not passing the ball to where the help came from. So I think it's a lot of decision-making, but we were also running Morgan Gentile as a PG, and last year we were running her inside. So I think we're going through some growing pains. I've sat and talked to Morgan, and this year she's been great about being coachable. And in practice, I've seen her develop, being able to get 2 feet in the lane and kick out. And our shooters get a high percentage shot when it touches that paint, and then it comes out on the perimeter.
That was it's funny because your counterpart, Coach Jennings, has a similar problem. And it all sort of circles back to the inconsistency in terms of making shots from distance.
Right. Because
that dribble drive, the help comes opposite. If that shooter's opposite, the help's not coming. Because the help's not. So, again, it's not as simple as it's just this one thing. It's the compounding of fixable things.
Absolutely.
And, you talk about just the inability to consistently make shots from the perimeter, which has been an issue since November, quite frankly.
Absolutely. And I think we're getting good looks. When I go back and I watch the film, they're all makeable shots. It's not like we're taking ill-advised shots. Our feet are set. We have time. We have space. So that was something we really talked about this finals week was we got to get shots up. We got to get game-like shots up. Those of you who are coming in, make a shot. Like, if you're able to make a shot, you're going to find some time, and it's going to just open up the game for our other players.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. We talk about football being played at levels. Basketball is no different.
Right.
It's easy on the inside. It becomes easier on the outside.
Absolutely.
And vice versa. And, of course, you were getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line, but the problem of not being able to consistently knock down shots from the perimeter makes everything get a little bit clunky because, let's be honest, the help's a step closer now because they're not respecting and seeing the shots going in. So the help is always going to sag to the middle, the dribble penetration. It's going to be really hard to get to the front of the rim because the help from everywhere is a step closer.
Yeah. I think, too, though, one thing that I wasn't happy about in the Westchester game, we didn't find Jillian Fisher enough on the perimeter. She's one of our best shot makers, and I felt like the ball was finding others. And when I went back and watched, there were opportunities for her there, and we didn't find her. And, it's very rare for her not to attempt a three-pointer. And in that Westchester game, she didn't attempt one, and she's hands down our best shot maker from all levels. I think Hope Garrity's our best three-point shooter, but we have to be sound in understanding, hey, we got to find Jillian. Like, we got to get her going because when she starts making shots, it opens it up for everybody else.
And she's a big that's going to pull little big.
Absolutely.
Away that certainly opened up space.
Yep.
All right, we're going to turn the page as we finally have another basketball game to talk about. This has been an odd year, but maybe it's always been this way, and I've just not paid that close attention. But more with Courtside with Callie Wheeler, presented by Walker Brothers Chevrolet, serving Northwest PA for more than 100 years. Coming your way next.
Factory trained service, a full-service body shop that accepts all insurance, and honest, no-nonsense deals on all new Chevrolets and used cars. Come in and see for yourself why we've been here for over 100 years. Call, click, or stop out. Walker Brothers Chevrolet.
Bring together expert faculty, offer programs in high-demand fields, add in a few centuries of tradition. You might call it the future of higher education. We're calling it Pennsylvania Western University. We've combined the resources of California, Clarion, and Edinburgh to create a new way to educate, where opportunities are boundless and tomorrow is yours to define. Built on tradition, built for your future. Welcome to Penn West.
All right, back to Courtside with Coach Callie Wheeler, presented by Walker Brothers Chevrolet, serving Northwest PA for more than 100 years. Turn the page. College of Charleston later on this week. This clunky schedule around holidays, finals week, has not necessarily been kind. It's been kind of odd, and I don't want to. And maybe it's oversimplification, but you guys are creatures of habit. Can you sort of attribute the inconsistency of the schedule to maybe your inconsistency? It's really hard to find a rhythm because each week is way different than the week before. This will be three out of 4.5 weeks with 8+ day gaps between games. I mean, this seems really, really strange.
Yes, and typically it is strange just because the way finals works. And this week is always tough for us because we get kicked out of Macomb. We got to go over to the Dome or Pogue, and it's just different. You know, you're not on your home floor. And when you're in Pogue, it's not a legitimate college court. In the Dome, they don't have the three-point line. Surface is different. But I was really pleased with how my team practiced this week. You know, I've had teams in the past that this past week, finals are in full gear. They're kind of losing steam of practice. But I think this team really is eager to learn and get better, and they're close. I mean, in every game, we have opportunities to win the game. I think it comes down to us beating ourselves. So I'm really pleased with how we progressed through the week. I've had other teams that they just lose focus and, are distracted by finals, but I thought we overcame the adversity pretty well.
Now, we've talked about the inconsistency in shooting. We've talked about the turnovers. But the one thing that you can always control is your effort. Mm-hmm. Your effort on the defensive end, but maybe more importantly in your case, team rebounding. When you're not making shots, you've got to create more opportunities. I mean, what are you handing out dollar bills for rebound? I mean, what can we do to get it be a team rebounding effort? Because the shots will fall. I know they'll fall.
Right.
But in the short term, how do you generate more opportunities for yourself in the offensive end?
Well, I think it's taking care of the ball. I mean, if you look at our losses, our L's, we've had 20+ turnovers in almost every single game. And I think we have to understand that those could be opportunities that we put on the glass that we could go get offensive rebounds. But instead, we're turning it over, and a lot of them are in the open court where it's really hard to defend. But rebounding, this past weekend, we didn't rebound the ball well, but we won one of those games where we took care of the ball. So I think it's, a give or take. If we're not going to rebound, then we need to take care of it so we get opportunities. If we are going to rebound, let's make sure we're not turning it over so that we can get some more O boards. But both teams were very good rebounding teams last week, Kutztown and Westchester. But I think the biggest difference was we took care of the ball against Kutztown. We didn't against Westchester.
Now, the two schools of thought are the best time to shoot a three is off an offensive rebound, mm-hmm. or the other side of the coin is the team that has a lot of offensive rebounds misses a lot of shots. So, when you look at, where you are, numbers-wise, mm-hmm. are you getting offensive rebounds because you're missing shots, or are your offensive rebounds generating second chances? Because, again, I mean, there's not, to your point. Now you've had the power outage in a couple of games, but really you've not been bullied. You've not been beaten by anybody. You've had opportunities in all of your games. And now that you've had all this downtime, have you been able to sort of break it down and say, okay, if we can stay within 8 in the rebounding category, if we can have 17 assists and we can have 9 to 11 turnovers, I think we can kind of keep the ship afloat until we start making shots from the perimeter?
Yeah, I think it's easy math. I think, if you're getting shots up on the rim, whether they're early shot clock or inside-outside paint touches or, post touches, you're going to have a great opportunity to win. But if you're turning the ball over in a live opportunity, it's so hard to defend. It doesn't matter if you have a great rebounding team, you have to take care of the ball. And right now, where I think my frustration lies is that we're beating ourselves. Yeah. We're giving the other team easy opportunities where they don't have to set up. I actually think at times our defense keeps us in the game. We're defending well. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's well enough to win games. The opportunities we're losing is because we're turning it over in a live action. And no defense, no rebounding in the country can keep up with live ball turnovers.
Now, we talk about the schedule and how strange it's been. And now we go 180. Now it's Thursday, Monday, Tuesday. You've not played 3 games in what feels like a month and a half, and then you get 3 games in a short window. The crossover comes to us. You get Charleston and Millersville, Shepherd, Monday, Tuesday. How much preparation, and of course, we don't need to get into the bus driver situation, but as bizarre as that was there any preparation in your crossover road trip for back-to-back that can get you ready for this one? Because that one was very strange. What's it going to be like for you guys? Because obviously you want to have fresh legs, but there's a lot of adjustments that are going to need to be made in a short window as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all 3 teams are coming in playing different styles. But the one thing that I really like is, you already talked about, we're creatures of habit, and these are home games. We've only played 1 home game. We've been traveling. We've been on the road. The girls get to sleep in their own beds. They get to, come in here, have a shoot around in their own gym. They feel more comfortable here. I'm hoping that gives them a sense of comfort and consistency, because I think consistency is where we've really been lacking. But I think these being home games, we're not traveling, we're not sleeping in hotels, we're not worried about pregame, postgame meals. I think that'll help. But yeah, all 3 games are going to be very different. I think that, Kutztown and Westchester were very difficult teams to prepare for back to back. Obviously, there was more game prep for Kutztown because that was the first game, and you don't want to overlook that first game. Because you don't want to leave that weekend 0-2. I mean, 1-1 with the Kutztown Westchester lineup, I'll take it. But I think it's really helped us in having that back-to-back, a little bit of adversity. I'm really confident, going into these 3 games, we can plan and prepare how we normally would.
Maybe the biggest win of the weekend, you get Mara back. I don't know if it was coincidence. I think she played exactly 12 minutes in each game. Coming off an injury, is she going to be minutes restriction? When is she going to be full go? I mean, she's probably the closest thing to a true point guard that you have on the roster.
Absolutely.
We've talked about that being an issue. What's the plan for Mara, and how involved is she going to be? Again, coming off the injury, in her case, the staggered schedule is good. But now Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, not playing a lot, 24 minutes all year. What's that look like?
Yeah, so Mara, she had it going. When we played West Liberty, she was feeling comfortable. She was controlling the offense. She was a factor on defense. And then she got injured. And we wanted to save Mara for conference. So we didn't play her in those non-conference games. She probably could have got in, but it just wasn't worth it for us. But this past weekend, I was looking for her to just gain some confidence. You know what I mean? Be able to go out there and feel herself, compete at a high level, and be comfortable with being out there. This week, I think she's really progressed. So the thing with Kutztown and Westchester was I felt like she was out there not to mess up, where when she was out there and she was confidently playing against West Liberty, she was controlling the game. So this week in practice, she's really started to separate herself from just being out there and controlling the game. So I'm really excited for her in this stretch here.
3-game homestand. That's right. 3 games in a row. They're playing here. It's amazing. It hasn't happened in a long time. Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and 1 o'clock, correct?
Yep.
So hopefully you can come on out and check out the Fighting Scots 3-game homestand. And let's stack a couple of wins together and get ready for West play. Another edition of Courtside with head coach Callie Wheeler, presented by Walker Brothers Chevrolet. In the books, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time, and best of luck in the next 3 home games.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We'll do it again next time.